If it's not already forgotten, Minecraft for the new Nintendo 3DS is usually the butt of many jokes and easily considered the worst of all the Minecraft versions. But does it really deserve that reputation? As someone with a soft spot for weaker consoles and obscure game ports, I couldn't keep myself from giving Minecraft on the 3DS a chance. After all, we're talking about the best-selling game of all time on a console of one of the most beloved video game companies in the world. So, is it really as bad as the Minecraft community makes it seem? Or is it actually an often overlooked handheld gem? Let me take you on an adventure to find out the truth. The reason why you might not have heard about Minecraft 3DS Edition is probably because it was released half a year after Nintendo Switch came out. Here in Europe, that was even later, in 2018. And we also never got a physical copy, which means I had to get it through other means now that the eShop is gone. Once we start up the game, we get a message telling us that we've just entered the museum. That's right, on the 3DS edition, time is frozen to version 1.9 from January 2019. That's when llamas and woodland mansions were introduced. So, only a little over a year after release, this was unfortunately already the last update. There are, however, still plenty of things to do. You have achievements in this game, and you also can choose characters. Similar to the Wii U and Switch version, you can choose characters from the Super Mario universe. I chose Captain Toad, because I see our adventure today as a prequel to Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. I mean, how else does he keep getting stuck in the most unconventional of places? Well, here you have the only explanation. Once we're ready, all we have to do is create a new world and watch it grow. Imagine taking one of those pencils that have an eraser at its end and keeping it firmly stuck between two plates. As it turns out, it's not only the most tedious way to write an essay, but also how it feels to look around in the new Minecraft world that we just created. I always thought that the knob or C-stick on the 3DS moved a little when you touch it, but no, it's rigid. Initially it took a bit to get used to, as you have to be almost sensually careful with the way you touch the knob, but later the movement became surprisingly bearable and fluid. I would even go so far as to say that it sometimes works better than a traditional joystick. Where on the Switch, for example, the movement is a constant speed, with the 3DS knob it becomes faster the harder you press in each direction. It feels very flexible and dynamic. Honestly, I feel so comfortable with these controls now that I bet I can play with just one eye. Here, let me prove it with this card. See? But despite now being an expert at looking around, there isn't that much to look at to begin with. After only 6 chunks, the 3DS is done rendering the world for us. But that's totally understandable. I mean, it's on the 3DS, so it's a 3D game after all. It's like doing all kinds of push-ups and heavy lifting to render 2 images at the same time. Let's see this baby in action. Whoa! This is so cool! I can't believe I'm playing Minecraft with this 3D effect. It feels so immersive and makes this version totally unique.
You like the death that I need from you. Oh yeah, yeah. You are only 2-dimensional.
So, it's a 3DS game, yet they never added the 3D feature to it. But it's still Minecraft, right? I can prove it's an overlooked handheld gem. So what better way to show this than to go through the most common Minecraft activities. Starting off by exploring our new world. The most unique feature of the 3DS edition is of course the dual screen setup. While the top screen is where all the gameplay happens, the lower screen displays a map of our current location, as well as our coordinates. This is really handy and makes getting lost rather difficult. It does however replace the map item completely, making it impossible to hang up maps on walls with item frames. While navigating through the world, like with all things in life, eventually it comes to an end. So if you were to walk from the spawn all the way to one of the edges, it would take around 15 minutes. In the 3DS edition, however, that happens a little bit quicker than on PC. The reason for this is because this version of Minecraft is based on the Pocket Edition, and a general quirk of these older editions is that they have limited world sizes. They range from small, medium to large, with the biggest one spanning 2000 by 2000 blocks. It doesn't sound like a lot, but exploring the whole map does take quite a bit of time and allows for a lot of freedom. The world being limited does however come with its downsides, as you'll learn later in this video. Our first night awakens, as you can tell by this comically tiny moon in the sky. That means that it's time to mine. Despite its weaker render distance, it's especially underground where I constantly forgot I was playing on just a new 3DS. The caves felt vast and swallowed me for an entire hour with their twisting and turning, while I was scavenging for coal, iron, and then the highly sought after diamonds. Of course they had to be next to lava, and of course I was ambushed by like 10 zombies all at the same time right then and there. And somehow, despite this near-death experience, I managed to get out of this situation alive. And in those moments I can really say, yeah, this is still Minecraft, even on the 3DS. In terms of controls, however, I did occasionally get reminded that this is indeed a different form factor. Holding a 3DS just isn't comfortable for longer stretches of time. And even the knob I praised before starts becoming slippery or painful on the thumb. And where on PC controls just feel natural because I configured the buttons my way, here it turns into playing Twister with your own fingers sometimes. The controls that you are dealt are the ones you're playing with, contrary to almost every other Minecraft edition where you can at least adjust most buttons. The only option you have is automatic jumping? Yeah. Can we call this a feature? While the map is very useful on the surface, underground not so much. That's where the lower screen turns into an inventory management area as well as a crafting interface. The 3x3 crafting grid is still displayed but doesn't really serve any purpose, nor can we interact with it. Recipes are instead easily accessible and show exactly what resources we need in order to craft specific items. Sometimes the interface felt a little finicky and made me accidentally craft things I didn't mean to. Additionally, navigating chests feels unintuitive and odd due to this narrow display that I have to awkwardly scroll through with these arrows. But aside from that, the touch controls work just fine for their intended purpose. Back on the surface, the biggest question for me was whether I could actually build a house in this version, or would it be too tedious after all? So that's when I started gathering a lot of resources to make a small cabin. While doing this, I noticed that there is a very brief but noticeable hiccup when destroying blocks. I've heard of people criticizing the 3DS edition's performance, but overall it's honestly pretty bearable, sometimes even running at 60 FPS. It is however true that there are the occasional issues, such as when I break these blocks, or later in the game when my world had grown much bigger in its file size. Lag spikes then became very regular while exploring. But I do think that the 3DS still achieves quite a lot more than it gets credit for, given that its performance is often apparently considered so abysmal. Once I had enough resources, I started laying down the foundation. My idea was to build a small house that's cozy enough for me, a bed, and a few chests. The farm next to it would keep me fed during this construction time, and when necessary, I'd eat the one or other fish here and there. As I kept getting attacked by monsters, however, I decided to also start building some protection for me and my land. And after some time, I finally felt safe in my own, now finished house. It might not be the biggest, but it does everything it needs to do. And while my humble attempt isn't going to impress anyone, I've still built with the same tools that inspired countless creations for a decade. The Minecraft 3DS subreddit is a great way to show that despite the many limitations that the 3DS has, it's certainly not one on players' creativity. With a defensive wall, a nutritious farm and a cozy little home, I think there is now everything a blocky mushroom person could only dream of. Loneliness did however take a toll on Captain Toad. Don't tell Toadette, but things got really nasty along the way. First afraid of the new world he stepped in, now Captain Toad is thirsty for some booty. Some dragon booty actually. Not sure where he picked that up from. So, as we all know, that means obtaining quite a few ender pearls and going to the Nether. As I already gathered some obsidian, I started with the latter first. And after a long loading time, there it is. Hell, in all its 1.9 glory. And conveniently, we're also offered a map of our location here. There's not much to see, but it's the thought that matters. And look at that! A nether fortress right in front of our nose. I was already afraid that there might be some sort of structure in this playthrough that I might be lacking due to the limited world size, but no, luck is on our side today. In general, there's something really eerie about the Nether. Despite spending most of my time in just the corridors of the Nether fortress, I always feel on edge, not knowing what's around the corner. The respect I have for imminent death is only emphasized by the narrow field of view, just not letting you get a good picture of your surroundings, whether it's an enemy or a deep fall into lava. In one way, I love the freedom and fearlessness I have playing with a mouse and keyboard, but I equally enjoy the nostalgic vibes I get not knowing how to navigate challenging areas. It takes me back to when the Nether felt scarier and really mysterious. Once I was done with my expedition to Hell, I returned with all the blaze rods I needed. Now it's time for the last ingredient, ender pearls. Nothing easier than that, right? All I have to do is step outside these walls and grind for a few nights.
1 week later.
Okay, so I've spent hours looking for Endermen. Real life hours, that is. First I stood outside and fought everything I could find. Then that didn't work, so I wandered around to see whether they spawn elsewhere. Later I thought, what if I create a big hole for mobs to spawn in? Maybe some Endermen will spawn as well. So I did just that. But no, just a few spiders. So I resorted to arson. I burned down an entire forest just to clear some space, so maybe an Enderman would appear. I fought and fought and fought. Where are they? In the whole time I've been looking for Endermen, I've only encountered 3 Endermen in a total of 25 hours of playing this game. And you know what's funny? Ender pearls have a drop rate of 50%, meaning I have 1. And I need at least 12. And that's an optimistic at least. I haven't even found a stronghold yet. How is this possible? Well, as it turns out, Minecraft version 1.9 was generally a difficult one to find any ender pearls on. Not just on the 3DS, but also on PC and other versions. I found people on forums complaining about this issue, which at least confirms my struggles. But you see, this is double frustrating. During my hunting nights, I noticed that there generally weren't that many monsters around. Reason for this is that the 3DS can't handle too many mobs at the same time. In fact, there's even a spawning limit. And it's not even a very high one. So this effectively means that the 3DS is not only stuck on a version with the stupid Enderman issue, but also rubs salt and deodorant into that wound by not being able to spawn that many monsters in the first place. But okay, so maybe I won't be able to find any ender pearls this way, but it still has to be beatable, right? How did other players manage to do it?
So yes, it took a whole 15 in-game days to get my first ender pearl. Luckily, I'll be using the cleric later on to get the rest.
With a village, of course! If I manage to find a cleric villager, I might be able to trade something for ender pearls. Yeah, that sounds doable.
One eternity later.
I explored the whole map. All of it. The biggest size the 3DS edition is only able to generate. My world is now over a gigabyte in size. And guess what? I was super lucky in the Nether, but in that whole gigabyte, there's not a single village. Not a single one in 2016 by 2016 blocks. I honestly didn't know what to do. But then, it struck me. All this time that I've been playing this game, I was missing one crucial piece of the puzzle. While I was blinded by my three-dimensional expectations, the obvious but crucial solution lay right in front of my eyes all along. It's Captain Toad. If we had only ever asked the captain where to find the ender pearls, we would have known a long time ago. Isn't this right, Mr. Captain?
Yes, that's right.
I knew we could count on you. Captain Toad, let's do this together. Whoa, how did you find this, Captain? We've come so far. Now let's see the real battle. They really updated the game since my last time fighting the Ender Dragon. I don't remember this part being on PC. It's so incredible. This makes the 3DS edition completely unique. We did it! Captain Toad, we did it! We killed the Ender Dragon! I can't believe it!
Hey! Are you lying to your viewers again?
No?
Come on, show them what really happens.
But that's a lot less fun than this.
But you did promise to find out the truth.
Fine. You're right. So, I was kinda stuck. Without a village in my world, the only way to get ender pearls was through excruciatingly tedious grinding for real-life hours, if not days. I honestly don't mind the grind in of itself, but it's the fact that you can skip the night, but not the day that makes things complicated. Because then, I'm waiting an entire 10 minutes before I can continue my hunt again. Now let's be real for a second. That ain't no fun. I could be playing Dave the Diver, or Minecraft on the Switch, or... No! I chose to be here. And unfortunately, I also chose to be a cheater.
I am a disappointment to my family, co-workers and friends and my viewers. Captain Toad, please forgive me.
Without having to restart completely, I decided that the best way to go about this is to give myself a helping hand with some ender pearls. That way, I could finally craft Eyes of Ender that directed me to the stronghold I was looking for. I did that by turning my survival world into a creative world and then back. Doing this does however permanently disable achievements, so deep down, I will never really know what it feels like to enter the end fulfilled. Now I have them, yet I don't feel achieved. Anyway, so that dragon booty that Captain Toad was after, it's hiding in a stronghold. And as it turned out, it's not on the other side of the map, not 1,000 blocks away, no, it's like the distance you take to walk your dog. I can't even believe how ridiculously close this is. It's really now that it's all in front of me that the idea of fighting the Ender Dragon on the 3DS was starting to make me nervous, so I prepared beforehand with everything I had gathered. I crafted some golden apples, a lot of arrows, ladders, a water bucket, and a pumpkin for on my head in case I accidentally look at an Enderman, which is definitely going to happen. Now that it really comes down to it, maybe forget everything positive I ever said about the 3DS now. It's flexible, but not the thing you want your own life to depend on. Captain Toad, are you ready? here we go! Okay, we're not off to a good start, let's try that again. We're finally here, the moment I was waiting for so long. Whoa. You know, for a moment I thought my 3DS was crashing, but it's actually just the music, okay. Oh, look who's here, all the Endermen, literally all of them, because apparently my surface world wasn't good enough for all of you. Okay, so my main approach initially was to put down a lot of water, you know, just in case I would get sent flying by the dragon, or in case I'd fall down for one of the end spikes. While that did save me sometimes, I think the pace of it was a bit too relaxed for what the Ender Dragon was in the mood for. You know, as a builder kind of player, my last boss fight was almost a decade ago. I ended up dying a lot of times, there really wasn't any way around it. And due to the game crashing each time I wanted to respawn, I instead had to load up the game from its previous save. It's really cheaty, but at this point, once a cheater, always a cheater, woo!
I am a disappointment.
I assume this is largely due to the firmware I use on my 3DS to record the footage and not what you'd usually see happen. Later, I took a more aggressive approach, shooting at the end crystals directly. And eventually, and with a lot of patience, I managed to get them all. And in the end, together with Captain Toad, we slayed the Ender Booty. So, after playing and sort of finishing Minecraft on the 3DS, I can now finally say that it is not the worst version of Minecraft. That title still goes to Raspberry Pi Edition. Remember that one? But it's definitely the second worst Minecraft version. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed myself a lot playing on the 3DS. The form factor has a lot of charm to it and it genuinely reminds me of the older, simpler times in Minecraft. But that's also a bit of a backhanded compliment, considering the older, simpler times in Minecraft were also on my crappy laptop in 2011. The small screen, low render distance and sometimes tedious controls make it difficult to immerse myself in the game for very long. And especially the forever outdated 1.9 version is a big deal breaker for me. But despite that, I did have some great moments and was really positively surprised at how much real Minecraft feeling the 3DS was able to provide. Beyond the novelty, I sadly can't seriously recommend it unless you already specifically own a new Nintendo 3DS model, know what the H-Shop is, and just want to find out what the game is like. For the other 99.9% of people, you're just fine without it. I won't laugh at the 3DS edition anymore, but instead respect it for what it tried to achieve. But now, I will let Captain Toad rest, and may he end up wherever his adventures will take him next. Oh wait, what is he doing on the subscribe button? Wow, thanks Captain. And thank you for watching my video. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed it, and see you again another time.
Oh man, why am I doing this? I have to be sad, remember? Oh, it's so warm. Oh, shit, man. Am I funny yet?
No. Perfect.